Hey everyone, welcome to Speak Like a Native. I'm Maya.
And I'm Leo. Let's get into it.
Today we're tackling one of the most common fears for English learners in professional settings, asking for clarification without sounding like you weren't paying attention, or worse, like you're not competent. Leo, have you ever been in a meeting, heard a term or an instruction you didn't fully understand, and just nodded along?
More times than I'd like to admit. My brain is screaming, what does that mean? But my mouth just says, yeah, got it. And then later, I'm totally lost.
Exactly. And here's the counterintuitive insight we're starting with. In American and British workplace culture, asking for clarification is often seen as a sign of engagement and intelligence, not weakness. The problem isn't asking, it's how you ask. Saying just what or huh can unfortunately make you sound disengaged or confused, but using the right phrases makes you sound sharp, detail-oriented, and collaborative.
So it's not about not asking, it's about upgrading how we ask.
Bingo! Today, we're giving you 3 powerful upgrades. They are, just to clarify, tour, could you elaborate on, and what do you mean by each one has its own superpower for different situations. And in a few minutes, Leo, you're going to make the classic mistake about 90% of learners make with one of these. So stay with us, listeners, and see if you can catch it.
No pressure.
Let's set the scene. Imagine you're in a weekly team meeting. Your project manager, Sarah, is updating everyone on the timeline. She says, we need to push the deliverables to EOD Friday, but the KPIs for QBR are still TBD. Your brain freezes. Deliverables, EOD, KPIs, QBR, TBD, it's alphabet soup.
That has happened to me. I just hear letters.
Right. So, the instinct for many learners is to freeze or to whisper, what? To the person next to them. But let's play this out with our first magic phrase, just to clarify, dollar. This phrase is your best friend when you need to confirm your understanding of a fact, a date, a term. It assumes you heard something and you're just making sure it's correct. It shows you're on top of things. So you could say, just to clarify, did you say the deliverables are due by the end of the day Friday?
Okay, so just to clarify is like saying, I heard you say Friday, I just want to double check that I heard the day correctly.
Perfect. It's for confirmation. Now, let's hear it in a full natural exchange. I'll be Sarah, the project manager.
See? It sounds proactive. I'm not saying I don't know what EOD means. I'm showing that I probably know, and I'm just confirming the specific detail.
Exactly. Now, our second phrase is for when you need more information, not just confirmation. Could you elaborate on, or could you expand on? This is when the speaker has given you a concept, an idea, or a reason, and you need them to go deeper. It shows you're interested in the why and the how, not just the what. For example, if Sarah said we're changing our social media strategy to be more agile, you might say, could you elaborate on what more agile looks like for our team?
So, elaborate is for getting more depth. It's like saying, that's interesting. Tell me more about that specific part.
Yes. And notice the structure. Could you elaborate on, you need that preposition on before the specific thing. A very common mistake is to say, could you elaborate that? Which sounds incomplete. It's elaborate on the point. Elaborate on the plan.
Got it. Elaborate on.
Now, the third phrase is incredibly useful but needs to be handled with a little care. What do you mean by, this is your go-to when you hear a word, acronym, or concept that you genuinely have no idea about? It's direct, but it can sound slightly challenging if your tone isn't right. The secret is to always say the specific word after by. Let me show you the difference. Bad version. What do you mean?
Yeah, that just sounds like explain yourself. It's vague and can feel aggressive.
Right. Good version. What do you mean by QBR? Or what do you mean by agile in this context? By specifying the exact term, you're showing you were listening closely, you identified the gap in your knowledge, and you're asking a precise question. It's efficient and respectful.
So it's what do you mean plus by plus the specific confusing term.
Exactly. Now, let's put all three into a longer real-world scenario. Leo, you're in a brainstorming meeting. I'm a colleague, Alex, pitching an idea. Ready?
Ready.
Leo, that was fantastic. Did you hear how natural that sounded? You used all three phrases perfectly. You confirmed, you asked for depth, and you pinpointed a vague term. You sounded completely engaged and intelligent.
It feels powerful. It turns confusion into a conversation.
It really does. Now, here's that common mistake I teased earlier. Listeners, this is huge. Many learners, especially from languages where questions are formed differently, will translate directly. For example, a Spanish speaker might say, "How do you say?" when they mean, "What do you mean?" Because in Spanish, "comocho" can be used for both. Or a Chinese speaker might say, "I don't understand," which is very general, instead of the precise, "What do you mean by this word?"
I think I've said, "How do you say?" when I was confused about a meaning.
Exactly. How do you say is for when you don't know the word for something. What do you mean is for when you don't understand the concept behind the word. Big difference. Another common one is overusing pardon or excuse me, which are fine for not hearing someone, but for not understanding a concept, they're too vague. The person will just repeat the same sentence louder, which doesn't help.
Yes, I said, we need to synergize our verticals. That doesn't help me at all.
Haha, right. So we need precision. Now, let's talk about the cultural context, the why this matters so much. In many cultures, asking a superior to repeat or explain can be seen as disrespectful. In mainstream American and British business culture, it's often the opposite. It shows critical thinking. It prevents costly mistakes. It signals that you care about getting it right. Silence is riskier than a smart question. The phrase you choose frames your confusion as curiosity.
So it's about reframing. I'm not exposing a weakness. I'm demonstrating a strength.
100%. And here's a native hack. You can even combine these phrases with a little buffer to sound even more collaborative. For example, "That's a great point. Just to clarify my understanding, are you saying, or I want to make sure I'm following, could you elaborate on the timeline? This prefaces your question with agreement or a shared goal."
That sounds very smooth.
It is. Now, it's practice time. I'm going to give you 3 sentences from a fake meeting, Leo. I want you to respond using one of our 3 phrases. Ready?
Ready?
Sentence 1. We need to leverage our existing assets to gain traction.
Okay. Could you elaborate on what you mean by existing assets in this case?
Perfect. You used elaborate on and specified the term existing assets. Excellent.
Okay.
Sentence 2. The soft launch is scheduled for the 1st.
Just to clarify, do you mean the 1st of next month?
Beautiful. Confirmation of a date. Exactly right. Sentence 3. The ROI on that initiative was negligible.
Let's see. What do you mean by negligible?
Spot on. You pinpointed the advanced vocabulary word. Listeners, your turn. Pause us if you need to. Think of your own response. Now, Leo, here's a tricky one. What if someone uses a slang or idiom? Like, "We need to get all our ducks in a row."
Oh, idioms are the worst. I'd probably say, what do you mean by get all our ducks in a row?
That's exactly right. You're not saying "I don't understand English." You're saying "I don't understand this specific cultural phrase," which is a totally fair and smart question. Even native speakers ask that sometimes.
That's a relief.
Now, for our listener challenge today, I want you to think of one acronym or piece of jargon from your field, IT, marketing, engineering, whatever. In the comments, write a sentence using it and then ask a clarification question about it using one of our 3 phrases. For example, "My manager said we need to focus on SEO." Just to clarify, does that mean on-page or off-page SEO first? Practice turning confusion into a learning moment.
That's a great way to make it real.
And if you want more real actionable lessons like this that help you sound confident and natural every single day, make sure you're subscribed to Speak Like a Native and hit the bell. We drop new episodes daily to keep your English moving forward.
Because sounding like a native isn't about a perfect accent, that's sassed. It's about knowing what to say, so you're always part of the conversation.
Exactly. So today's one memorable takeaway is this: swap the vague "what" for the precise "what do you mean by." It's a small change with a huge impact on how you're perceived.
Thanks, Maya.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Until next time, keep speaking.